It takes a second.
Oh, here we go. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Excuse me,
What?
I have a little something to say before.
Shut it down. That's how it is in the Chaprut family. That's at home. She's acting exactly.
Did you forget who you're married to?
Captain.
You want to repeat that, Martha?
Can we move that 1 inch to the right? Just 1 inch?
Oh, she has
That's the.
something to read.
You better be nervous, Rafi.
So welcome everyone. Sorry about that. He's anxious to get started.
Are you the speaker tonight?
Welcome again. I just had a few things to say. Thank you all for coming. It's a wonderful turnout, which is really a testament to my wonderful husband. And I think you're going to enjoy the program. I did ask before if anybody's new, and I did find someone new. And I forget your name, I'm sorry? Linda Foreman. So everybody say hello to Linda. Anyway, so we represent the Renaissance Planning Group, we're called. It's a fairly small group, but we plan one event, at least one every month. We get together once every month or every 2 months, and we like to plan like 3 or 4 months into the future. If anybody is excited or is enjoying this and would like to come to our meetings, please let me know, and everyone is welcome with your ideas. We do have a couple of events coming up. One is at the Faders' home, where the Faders, here's the Faders, have offered their home, and it's going to be on Sunday, February 23rd at 1 o'clock. It's going to be sort of a potluck lunch, and we have an activity plan. We haven't decided if it's going to be a comedy day or some other sort of activity for all of us. So you're all welcome to come. Keep that in mind. We will start advertising soon. In March, we're planning to go to a show. We've done several shows in the past, which is Dial M for Murder. Do you remember, anybody on the committee remember where that was? Dial M for Murder.
New York City, is it?
No, it might have been the Barnstable Comedy Club or one of the.
Oh, I thought you were talking about.
No.
Where it was written.
We did have a wonderful trip up to the Shoal, Vilna Shoal. We had a wonderful trip up there. We had lunch together. We had some really great events. We went to theater, to museums. So you're always welcome. Keep it in mind. And again, if you want to help us with the planning, we welcome you. In April, we're going to have another moth. We decided to do one every other month. And we think the topic will be people who have chosen the Jewish faith. So that should be interesting. We also have, again, with the Faders, Larissa is a yoga teacher, instructor, and she's offered to give yoga lessons maybe once a week on a regular basis. If you're interested, you can talk to Larissa. We also are thinking about maybe doing some Passover cooking in the kitchen, possibly with the rabbi, so watch for that. And even if you don't want to be on the committee, if you come up with any...
Go this way.
Even if you're not interested in joining the committee, if you have any good ideas, please let us know. And now, for the big part of the day, I would like to introduce my husband, Rafi. He was very pleased to come here. Actually, he was delighted, and he's going to tell the story of his life. I'm involved in 2/3 of it so far, and Ben is involved in maybe 1/3 of it. But it's a really interesting story, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. So, Rafi, who was born Rifat Chaprut, which is the Turkish for his Hebrew name, which is Raphael. You know, we call him Rafi. Please, welcome.
No more time left.
Thank you very much, wife. I hope that I won't disappoint you with my presentation, but thank you for coming. And I wasn't expecting this much, so I thought that you can't hear. That's right. Okay, my fault. I will. I wasn't expecting, but thank you for your time. And hopefully, whatever I'm going to present or tell, it's just a story with some backgrounds and some pictures will satisfy you. And this was a long trip for me. I'm not young, as you noticed. And learned from each part or each day a lot, after Martha's approval, of course. Okay, so the title was picked by my wife. I don't think I'm a wandering Jew, but I am a Sephardic Jew, and I have a lot of history and identity. I have never spoken a language. I know a couple of languages with the correct accent. If you notice, I do have an accent, and if I talk to you in Turkish, I will have an accent in Turkish too, or Latino, or whatever languages I speak. The majority of my life was dedicated to adapting to different environments. I moved around, I did different things, and the first thing that I had to do before deciding on going to the next step is learning to adjust, to assimilate, and then try to make it. And thank God in the last 50 years I had Martha with me, so that was good. Anyway, I hope she won't be upset with me. Let's go. I'm a Sephardic Jew, which Sepharad means Spain. Yeah. Sepharad means Spain in Hebrew. So Sephardic Jew is a Spanish Jew, a Jew that was born or come from Spain. And I'm going to go through Spain, but I wanted to start with before the Inquisition, because Jews were there in Spain a long time, since the Second Temple destruction. They moved from Jerusalem, and they moved west. They moved through North America, not through North Africa, sorry, and moved to Spain because of the Romans. The Romans were conquering Europe, and the Jews followed. That's where they were. So, but Spain, at that time, which is from early 200, 300 until 492, was governed by a Muslim caliphate. And if you notice over here, the green is where the Muslims were. And at the end, finally, this is Castile. That's where Isabel and Ferdinand were. And they're the ones that, after the golden age of the Muslim Spain, they moved on to push the Muslim caliphate down to North Africa. And please.
Got the last line.
That's in 1492. I was going to come. But in those times, until the 1492, in 1915 CE, there was a famous person in Spain. His name was ibn Chaprut. Did you notice a little connection? That's I hope that he's my ancestor. I don't know, but we're talking about 2,000 years, so maybe. But the name is the same. So he wasn't born in Spain, in Jaén, which is south of Spain, and he played a key role in the golden age of the Jewish culture. I'm just looking again. He looks a little like me without the name. Anyway, but he was a Jewish scholar, a physician, a diplomat for the Caliph of Cordoba, and then he did something very important. I thought that it is that he facilitated communication between various Jewish communities then in Europe. There was a kingdom in close to Hungary, or Hungary, Ukraine, Poland, around that area. They're called Khazars. The king of the Khazars had to decide for a religion. They were not Christians, they were not Muslims, and then he had a communication. This Hazdai Chaprut had a communication with the king of Khazars in order to convince him to convert or advise him to convert to Judaism. So that's if you go through, the internet and look for it, you will see that he was involved with Khazars, and Khazars since then are not Jewish anymore, and there's no country of Khazars. But that's what it was around the 1,000 years. Now, go back to 1492. The Spanish, the Isabel came down and threw the Muslims away and decided that Muslims and Jews should leave Spain because of Christianity. If there's any Christians over here, I'm sorry, but these are the facts. So poor Jews, what should they do? If you notice over here, there's red lines and black lines, blue or black. So there was a big expulsion from Spain that left, if you notice, from the south of Spain, and they moved out through Italy to Venice. At that time, Venice, Naples, Rome were important merchant towns, city towns, and moved east towards Greece and towards the Ottoman Empire, which actually this whole yellow thing that you see over here, and the North Africa, where Tunis, Algeria, and probably Libya, they were all under Ottoman Empire. Of course.
Rafi, can I ask a question before you go any further?
Sure.
In Rome, the Jews don't call themselves Sephardic. They say they're their own tribe.
Yeah,
So-
but these are the ones that probably added to the existing Jewish.
I see.
No, this is not replacing any Jews sitting on these towns or these cities or these countries, but they were expelled. They didn't have any country. They didn't have anywhere to go. And here sits in Istanbul, in the ex-Constantinople, a prince, or it's not a prince. He was the king, the emperor, called Beyazid. He was the son of Fatih, who conquered Istanbul from the Eastern Greek community. So he was growing. He needed intellectual capital. He needed people that know commerce. He needed people that will have connections with all the world. So he opened the doors to all the Jews that are leaving Spain. He said, my doors are open, all Jews are welcome, my gain will be Spain's loss. These are the words that he said. That gave a big important urge to move to Istanbul, or the Ottoman Empire. Over here, there is a couple of major cities that are very famous for Jewish, Sephardic Jewish history. Saloniki, which is in Greece. Adrianopolis, which is in Turkey now. That's in Thrace, the European part of Turkey. That's where my mother was born. And, of course, Istanbul. So, move on. The Ottoman Empire, I'll probably talk a little more about that, but I'll just go. The Inquisition did not finish in 1492. It continued until 1834. There was still Inquisition, but not with putting people to, putting people to execution, but there was still Inquisition in Spain. My doors are open, yes. I think we talked about that. The Jews contributed to cultural, intellectual, and economic life in the Ottoman Empire. So we're talking about Ottoman Empire, Turks, Ottoman Empires. I will use them interchangeably. Yes, I didn't finish my sentence. Thank you. Ottoman Empire, when Ottoman Empire was demolished after the World War I, there was only one country that continued their steps. That was the Turks. That's why it's called Turkey. But the Turks are an ethnic group that come from Central Asia. They're not Arabs. They're Muslims, but they're not Arabs. They speak the Turkish language, which comes from a Turkic language family of Eastern Europe, Eastern Asia, and the majority of the Turkish population lives in Turkey, but they have a lot of diaspora communities, like in the Yugoslavia area. They have in Germany, there's 4 million Turks living, but that's lately because of economic reasons that they moved and tried to make money over there in Europe. And if you notice the structure or faces of the Turks, these are all Turks. If you go from left to right, if you started from a Central Asian looking Turk to probably Hollywood actor over here on the left, on the right. So he's eating. The Jewish and Muslim relations of Turkey, Ottomans or Turkish, they has a long history of coexistence and interaction. There was a period of tolerance and persecution. Not everything was perfect. Everybody knew their place, and whenever there was an issue, they tried to deal with it. But there was persecutions, but then also there was tolerance. And I'll go through how they can get that tolerance with money usually. This is if you notice over here on the picture, you'll see a Muslim or Ottoman Wazir giving a dini to a non-Jew or non-Muslim. The dini status was a legal status, and that was not just all for Jews. In Istanbul at that time, there were different communities besides Jews that were non-Muslim. There were Greeks, because they were there since Constantinople and they didn't move, they were still there. There were the Armenians that they moved from east of Turkey towards Istanbul, where there was commerce, and there were the Jews. And beside those, then it was all Muslim. So there was a process that everybody went. You had to pay a certain amount of money, you can call it tax, in order to get protection of religion, culture, and that's it. That's all you can do. You can do too much. That you can pray or have your own synagogues, and you can have whatever you want to do. You don't have to get permissions all the time, but that was given. Each person that got the dinis, they were protected physically, and they had a freedom of religion, trade, and residence. So they can live wherever they want in that area. The dini status declined in importance when the Ottoman Empire, after World War I, was abolished, and there was only one little country out of this whole huge empire that was left. It was Turkey in 1923. This, whatever we saw over there in yellow on the Inquisition map, this is Turkey now. Turkey is the white, where Istanbul is where the star is. So, 1923, there was a Atatürk, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. I don't know if you heard of him. He was the architect of creating a republic of the Ottoman Empire, or whatever was left for it. And one of the things that he tried to do was everybody is equal, you have equal rights. The dhimmi was abolished. That's the modern Turkey, that's World War I. I think I talked about that. And now, my story. This is the youngest, a picture of whenever I was the youngest that I found. I probably wasn't zero over here, but maybe 2-year-old. I was holding a flower. I don't know why. I think probably it's the photographer who wanted to make a statement. I was born in Galata in Istanbul. In Istanbul there are different branches. It's Galata. And this is called the Galata Tower. That's where I lived. I don't know, I'm not 100% sure, but I'll try to make a point of where I was born. It was the top floor of a building. I think it's over here. Yes, where the arrow is. That's where I was born. It was on the 6th floor, no elevator, and my father and mother used to go up those 6 stairs, taking all their, whatever they have to bring up. It wasn't very good, and the roof was not so good, but that's where I was born. They reminded me, whenever they were still alive, you know what we did for you? We carried all the stuff from the 5th floor. So it's in the Golden Horn district. They had diverse communities at that time. The Genoese, which were in the maritime business, they were there. The Greek, the Jews. It's known for its vibrant atmosphere, nightlife, art scene. I went, I think 5-10 years ago, we went to visit the house, knocked and asked to go. They didn't let me, but we tried. And it's popular for tourists and locals. So if you notice over here, there's people over here. They go over there. That's a very panoramic view of the whole Bosphorus. I'll talk about Bosphorus if you know what it is. Bosphorus is the water part that divides Asia and Europe. So this was on the European side. If you go back, I think I may go. Yeah, it's over here. In Istanbul, in between, there's a water. It's called the Bosphorus, and it links the Black Sea, the Aegean Sea, and the Mediterranean. So it's a very strategic place. North of the Black Sea, as we know, are the Ukrainians and Russians. Where on the left side, on the west, was the Bulgaria, Romania, and all these countries. Anyway, so this is the Chaprut family, my parents, and my brother. I'm the pretty one. My father, Jacques, and Rochelle, they were from the Thrace part of Turkey. Thrace is the part that is the European part. I said that the Bosphorus separates Asia and Europe, and there is the European part, which is Thrace, and that's where they're from. My mother from Adrianopolis, my father from Kırklareli, which doesn't mean too much, but that's why I just pass it on. But they, because of the war, and there was no work and all that, they had to move to a big city being Istanbul. They got married after World War II. I'm a World War II kid, you know. They got married in 1945 after the war, and I was born in 1947. I have one sibling, the one on the left, and his name is Leon. He lives in Israel, where we used to live. We'll get to that. And my father was a merchant. He did trade, usually paper. We spoke Ladino at home, or Judeo-Espanol, and that is my mother tongue. That's what I learned. Go ahead. The Turkish educational system is mostly like this, but there is the primary school, middle school, secondary school, and higher education, and it's compulsory for everybody that after Atatürk came, that education is very important, so everybody had to go to school up to the end of high school. That was the compulsory. The rest, if you want to continue. There were public schools and private schools. I attended the public schools for the primary, and that's where I learned Turkish. And it's 5 years, first 5 years. There was also private schools, mostly religious ones, and after World War II, there were a lot of countries, European countries, that wanted to bring their culture into the country, and they had the French, German, Austrian, Greek, American also. So that's to help to preserve the cultural identity and teach culture and language to the second grade people, the people in the Middle East.
So I have a question, maybe just ignorant here, but were your parents, they were in Turkey during World War II? Were they at risk at all?
If you're talking about the Nazi regime, no, they were not. But the Turks were not they were partners with the Germans in World War I. In World War II, they were kept neutral. So they didn't do. The Germans came all the way to Greece and stopped because Turkey said that. But they sent all the mail. They added X number of tax. I don't know what percentage. I don't remember. My father didn't have the money, so he was sent to labor camps. So it wasn't a labor camp where you die, but labor camp where you work for nothing in order to pay the tax of a non-Muslim in Turkey. And it wasn't just for the Jews, but mostly the Jews had to pay. There was no, coming back, there was no Nazi.
Okay.
Next one. Oh, go back. If you notice over here, there's a little, and that's me. No glasses then, still. But then I moved to secondary school. I went to a French school, Lycée de Saint-Michel. It was a Christian, run by Frères des Écoles Chrétiennes, which is Brothers of Christian Schools. Everything was in French. The language of education was French. And when they had to have a religion class, the ones that were Christian, they would go to one class. The Jews would go and study Torah. And the Muslims, which were one or two, just go out and play in the hallway. They didn't have one. And as I said, everything was in French. From geography all the way to math, everything was French. There was no Turkish even speaking. And the teachers, which you see them over there, they're not dressed as priests, but they were all priests. This is for the photograph, or for the picture to be taken. They used the Western, these two. This guy's name was Mr. Michel. It just happened to be Michel in Saint Michel, but he was a math teacher. And I was over here with glasses. After Saint Michel, which finished the secondary school, I had to go to college. My parents were very interested in education and wanted their sons to go to the best schools that there is, and the best school, high school in Turkey at that time. Actually, even today, it was Robert College. That's from grades 9 to 12. It was founded by Mr. Robert and Mr. Hammond. And it was the first American college outside of the US. And it was just on top of the Bosphorus. It was a great thing. You know, if you don't even like to go to school, you would go just to see the panorama, just to see the picture. And over there, it was, the language of instruction was English. Everything, whatever I said in Saint Michel, that was French, over here was in English. So you had to go. In both schools, I had to do a year of preparations and prep. So before I went to grade 9, I had to do a year, learn English, so that I could go at it. Because if you knew English and they test you, then you can continue. But if not, same thing with the French. Right? So the language was English, and it became the leading educational institution of the region. A number of ministers and all that was went to that school. Actually, 3 years ago, I went to Turkey for the 25th, yeah, or 15th. 15th, yes, I am. Too many numbers. I can't. Yeah, for the reunion, it was amazing to see the people. 90% were Turkish Muslims. I sat next to my friend Diko, who was Mordechai Obadia. That's where I sat, and we celebrated. Anyway, please. Oh, life as a teenager. Well, you know, time goes, and I'm. How are we doing with time? Am I too slow, too fast?
No, you're
Good?
perfect.
Okay.
You're perfect.
Okay, sorry, just checking in. I had only Jewish friends, and it was not just by choice, it's by wherever I was, there were some Jews and non-Jews, and I somehow linked with Jews. Sunday mornings we used to go to, they used to put us with a girl and a boy, as a teenager, so it would be, you know, boys who would like to go out and ask for charity to all Jewish houses that there was. Actually, there were no houses in Istanbul, it was just apartment buildings, and so they had the list of all the Jews where they lived, and they gave you a list, and you used to go out and ask for charity for a Jewish hospital that was run by the Jews. We also, in Istanbul, there are on the side in the Marmara, there are five islands, little small islands. They're called Princess Islands. And people over here in the summer go to Miami. Actually, in the winter they go to Miami. Over there, they go from Istanbul to Büyükada. And that's Büyükada, it's an island, it's no cars, it's car-free, and horse-ridden. The only problem is the smell of the, of the horse, but it's great. So we spent, my parents, a lot of Jews used to go there, and we spent the summer in the island with other Jewish friends. So high school finished, I want to go to university. There's plenty of universities in Istanbul, but I was a rebel. I didn't want to be with my parents. I said, I want to go out and go. So I went to Middle East Technical University. which is called Metu. That's what Metu is. It was a university that the language of instruction was in English. That attracted a lot of neighboring countries students to come, and like from Jordan or Saudi. So there was a lot of, it was a main university in the Middle East, happens to be in Ankara, and it was good for engineering and social sciences. It ranked among the top universities of Turkey and the region, and I started going there. I went there the first year, everything was fine, and then comes the second year.
What did you study?
I studied economics. 1968, I don't know if you remember over here, you're all young, but in 1968 there was a big student uprising all over Europe and United States, Kent State and all that, and also, of course, in Turkey. And where will it be? It will be in a university. Our university. That was my second year. So there were protests. If you see over here, there's a car that is turned over, and the American ambassador came to visit the school, the university. We, the students, didn't like that because America was involved in the Vietnam War, and the US is involved in the Middle East, and we had to punish that person's envoy, which is an ambassador. So we took the car that he came in. I say we because I didn't do it personally, but I was there with them. And the result was police, army came, the school was closed. The school closed, and I was in Ankara, lived in Istanbul. So why am I going to stay here by myself in Ankara? I went back to Istanbul. At the same time, I had many aunts, but there was this specific aunt that lived in Israel, and he, after 1967, after the war, decided to come and visit us. Her sister, which is my mother. So she had left Turkey and immigrated to Israel early 1940s because the economy was very bad and the Jews were not doing very well. So anybody that could go left Turkey and moved to Israel. Around that time, I think 40 or 50,000 people moved from Turkey to Israel. So she was one of them. And then, she said she would come and visit. And she brought her daughter with her. So they come and stayed with us. And it was it did impress me a lot, because in Turkey you always felt that you can't do everything. There are some things that Jews cannot do. You can't be a policeman. You can't go to the army. It can be up to lieutenant. Besides lieutenant, that's not acceptable. You cannot live in a certain place. So that gave us, for a young person that I was then, 18, 19 years old, I said, I can't take it. This is totally bull. So they came in and I started talking to them. We spoke in Ladino. And then started talking to them, and then they gave me this confidence, or they were so confident of what they were talking. They were proud of being a Jew or an Israeli. So I said, that's what I want to be. And that's my aliyah. Aliyah, for people that don't know, is you're going up to Israel. That's aliyah. Aliyah means going up. Immigration to Israel in the 1960s, the Turks emigrated. I would talk about that, and 50,000 people left. The 6-Day War, the success of the Israeli army, the IDFs, gave a lot of pride to the Jews living in Turkey, and they said that they want to move there. But there were some restrictions that you have to go through. Anybody that wants to go to Israel had to go through security issues, they had to have a visa. It wasn't, I just want to go, buy a ticket, and then go. That wasn't like that. Despite the restrictions, many Turkish Jews made their way to Israel. Today, in Turkey, there's 12,000 Jews. And it's in high time, it was 140, 150,000. So there was a big downturn. Most of the people going to Israel, but a lot coming to go to France, Italy, United States, Canada, any place that they go.
Can I ask a quick
Sure.
question? It says that the Turkish government placed restrictions on Jewish immigration.
Yes.
Why? If they didn't,
Security reasons, first of all, they don't want. Second is, at that time, there was a lot of Turkish workers working in Israel. They didn't want the non-Jews. The restrictions would have been not just for Jews, even for non-Jews.
okay.
Yes. Okay. This is the Israeli. Today it's a little different, but that's what it was. Well, this is the West Bank. I have over here. Thank you. You're asking, here it is, why am I making Aliyah? I mean, Israel is good and all that, but I had a good life in Turkey, My parents were paying for everything, I had a house. I didn't have to go to school. Everything was good. But that visit that my aunt did in 1967 made a big influence on me. And I myself also, being a Jew and seeing the 6-Day War and the success, that was very proud. The university was closed. I didn't have any place to go. My younger brother, Leon, that you saw over there, was in high school. And he decided that he's going to Israel when he finishes high school. And I thought, oh, okay. And then I just found out that the Israeli consulate in Turkey, which was not just for the Turks, but for mostly young university students, were giving scholarships that would come to Israel and learn the language and go to school without forcing to stay in Israel. You can just, we're giving a scholarship, smart idea. People go there, they're young, they study, and they stay. So that's why they're listening of giving that scholarship. So I did get a scholarship, and I needed a scholarship because I didn't have any money. My parents were not doing very well. They spent all their money on my education, so they didn't have any money. So with all this reasoning, I had making Aliyah was not a big, difficult choice. And what do you do in Israel when you do Aliyah? You go to an ulpan, which I was very well aware of because I did prep schools in French and American schools. So I said, okay, so we'll do the same thing. I'll learn Hebrew. We did, Hebrew immersion program. The goal is to teach Hebrew to immigrants, to new coming immigrants, and we were in that same reasoning that we were, like an immigrant who came to study, and the duration was 5 to 10 months. This is my parents, a little older than before. And that's me. It's my first year in Jerusalem. My hair is a little 1968 type. And they came to Jerusalem for Jerusalem's Independence Day. So, finished the coming back to the story, finished the Ulpan and was accepted to Hebrew University, which and studied not economics. I had to start all over because it wasn't accepted, you know. I think they took me a couple of credits, but not as a graduating course. Hebrew University is located it has two campuses. There is one inside Jerusalem, around downtown, that's called Givat Ram, and there's Mount Scopus, which is, before the Six-Day War, it was the border with Jordan. There was a university over there, there is a hospital, there's a monastery, and there's a lot of cemeteries beyond that. But that's Mount Scopus. So I lived in the dorms in Mount Scopus and went to school in Givat Ram, downtown. And I used to take buses going there. One day, I'm sitting on the bus, and I see a nice lady, a girl in the bus. You know, I'm just one too kid. You know, I say, hi, how are you, and blah, blah, blah. So that was Martha, and I asked her for a date, and she accepted. And you know, that's where we are. She tells me what to do now. But then she reminded me, and there's a couple of things over here, she reminded me that she saw me in the dance, and she said that, oh, this rich Argentinian guy, that's what she thought that I was. And I thought, oh, this is a rich American girl. We were both poor, but nevertheless, she accepted it. We went out to the Chinese restaurant, and then a couple of years passed, I graduated, and we got married in 1972. But before that, before we got married, I had to come to, I had to come to Israel, from Israel to Springfield, Massachusetts, where Martha's parents were. I had to see what I'm getting married to. Not a Hasidic Jew or somebody that cooks with onions. Yeah. That's what I wanted to see. So I came. She, at the time, in 1970, she went back because she was in Israel for a junior year abroad. And then she finished her junior year abroad. She had to finish her graduation. She came back. And then I said, we continued talking remotely. There wasn't any internet then, no WhatsApp or anything. All I had to do is, I remember, I had a little asimon, how do you say asimon? I had a token from a public thing with a ring, so that the token won't go, and I could talk for 10, 15, 20 minutes with the same token. But she wouldn't call me back, so that's what I had to do. Anyway, so in the winter of 71, I came, and that's their house with their dog. And for me, that's the first time that I saw snow. And I'm going to talk about differences, what you have to be, if you're moving someplace, you have to go through a number of things, and temperature and seasons are very important. So, while I was there in Springfield, we decided we should go see the big city, New York. And then, okay, we arranged something, and we decided, or I decided, that I have family in New York that I never met, that I didn't even know that existed over there. I said, let's go and try to find it. So, my mother had 12 siblings. She was one of 13, and she was number 13. Actually, out of the 13, 5 passed away right away when they were very young, but 8 remained, and they had real communications with them. There were 2 of them that they had left the house before my mother was born. Because she was 1 and the other one was 18 and 19. One went to the army and World War I, and he, and he died probably because he didn't come back, we don't know. And the second one went to New York. We knew about it, that he lives in New York someplace. New York at that time was 10 million people, not 20 like now, but it was 10 million people. And tried to find him. It wasn't very difficult to find. We knew his name, and the name is not a very common name. His name was Israel Pilosov, the last name. There were a couple of them. We called them. Finally, we found somebody didn't answer to Israel Pilosov's phone. That was his wife, but his second wife. And she told us that he passed away. But she understood where we're coming from, and she said, you know what, I'll arrange a meeting with all the kids, my first cousins. So she arranged that. I think that, I don't recall now, if we went again, or if we were, while we were there, if we, so she did. She arranged a meeting, all the cousins, and they were supposed to come. So Martha and I are going to the meeting, and we get out, and we're in the hallway. It's in the city court. That's where it was. It was a big building, with a big entrance, and all that stuff. I see somebody that's coming there. I say that to Martha, hey, look at this person. Doesn't he look like Eli Cohen, which is another cousin from Israel? She says, yes. So we're going, he's going to say meeting. So we asked him, are you going to do Pilosov's meeting? He said, yes. Oh, we were cousins. That's where we met, even before the meeting. But I had apparently 4 or 5 cousins. They all came. Now they're not in New York anymore. They're in Miami. 71, came back. She finished school. I was still in school. And August 19th was my last class, the final, so that I could graduate. And on the 23rd, we got married. So she didn't leave me any time to go out and find out if there was another better person. Anyway, so the 23rd of 72, August 72, we got married in, if you notice my parents, they're still there. And got married in the Hebrew University chapel. It was a very small wedding, maybe 50 people. And that was it, you know, and say goodbye, that's it, and people go. She, in the meantime, because she had finished school in the States, came to Israel, and she was looking for a job. She found a job, and the job was teaching, I think teaching home economics in Rehovot. That's why we moved to Rehovot. This moving is not, we're deciding the best town to move in. It's just that she got a job there, that's where we go. I didn't care where I'm going because I had to be enlisted. It was deferred until I finished school. Yes, I have to see what I'm saying. Okay, so this is Rehovot, and what you see over here is Martha and I with Maya, our older daughter, and my brother and Etel, his wife, and my parents in our house in Rehovot. That's what the pictures over there, and Rehovot is the topic. On top is Maya and Miki. We also had another kid by then, and that was Miki. And they were going to first day of school, or gone, how do you say gone? Preschool. So we bought our first house in Rehovot. Rehovot is in the central district of Israel. Weizmann Institute, if you know, is there. And also the Faculty of Agriculture of Hebrew University is in Rehovot.
So did you become a statistician? Is that what you were? Studied statistics?
You'll hear, just
Okay.
no, I'll do it fast. I didn't work then. I did back then I wasn't working. I was at school, and part-time I was working for the, doing surveys for the statistics for all
Yeah.
Israel.
Yeah.
That was all my statistics.
Yeah.
So, 1972, got married in August. October, I had to I had to be enlisted. But I was a little lucky, but I don't know if it's lucky or not, but I had to serve a shorter time than the 3 years because I was married and I was 26 years old at that time. So they don't take you for, regular army at this age. So they give you, they're lenient with you, which they were lenient with me. I started in 1972 at the end, and I had to serve 9 months. But then, while I was serving, the Yom Kippur War broke out, and I was in the service. And the release was postponed. I was released 6 months later I think I was released in March or something. But that was nothing. You finish the army, then you have to go to reserves. So from that time until 1986, where I was too old then, I had to do 30 to 45 days a year reserve duty. I was in an artillery corps, and while I was, again, in 1982, there was the first Lebanese war, so they enlisted me because of the artillery that they needed. I was there for 7 weeks, and then released. The war was 3 months. And in 1986, at the age of 39, that's the magic number. If you are a combating soldier, 39 is the magic number that you stop your service. In one of my reserve duties, I had to be in Gaza. And at that time, Gaza was not a very dangerous place like it is today, or there's no Gaza now. And Martha used to take Maya, that's little Maya, and come and visit me because she wasn't teaching and I was bored. They came after I finished the army, I had to find a job. I did find a job related to statistics, which is actuarial work in Riunione Adriatica di Sicurta. This is a maritime insurance company, and the job was to do some risk assessment and actuarial work. That was work, and if you noticed over here, I had to write that. It was a very boring job. I used to smoke then. Suddenly, instead of 1 pack a day, I used to smoke 2 packs a day because I had to go out and not. Anyway. This was in 1975. 1975, I don't like my job very well, actually bored. Martha teaches only till May or June, and we said, I don't like it. You can take a year off. Maybe we'll go do our masters. We said, okay, where are we going to go? Well, we'll go to Springfield, where Westfield is next to it. Why Springfield and why Westfield? Because Springfield is where my in-laws lived, and Westfield is where my father-in-law taught. So we said, okay, can you make sure that we can get in and start learning? Yes, and we went. And I studied math, because the closest that there was over there. And Martha was studying her counseling and guidance. Lived in Springfield with the in-laws. We finished in not 1 year, but 15 months. Did 3 months of the summer and a whole year, and we had to make a choice. We're in the States, we did our masters, we don't have any kids. Are we staying in the States, or are we going back to Israel? I don't think that we had to discuss more than 5 minutes. We both said, we're not staying in the States. States is not for us, we want to go back to Israel. And then we took the plane, went back to Israel, so that Martha could start her teaching in September. While we went back, I had to find a job because I didn't have any job, and the other job that I don't want to go. Then I was lucky that Israeli Aircraft Industries, which is the major aerospace and defense company, had a program for 6 months. You had to go through a course. I like those courses that you don't do anything, study. That's my thing, study. I had to study another 6 months to learn computer science and their systems. So, finished the course good and started working there from 1976 to 1990. So for 13 years I was there. It was a good, very good workplace. I enjoyed it. I had good friends, and I wanted to stay there. But life is not what you want, it's what you draw. And this is what I drew. Coming to the US. Let's go. 1990, Martha, we have 4 kids. This is a little after they came. This little one over here is him. And I have still black hair. And my in-laws are here. Some of you probably know them, or they were members of the synagogue. Anyway, we had she was having a lot of, I was working very hard, not at home very much. She had to deal with 4 kids. The financial situation in Israel, whatever you make, it's not enough. So we decided maybe we'll come over here. I had to lie to Martha for 4 years straight, saying that next year we'll go, next year we'll go. At the end, she came in by herself, and then I had to follow, just like now. Okay, life at Cape Cod, what do I have to tell you? You all know at Cape Cod, you've been here for a long time. But for us, at that time when we came, it was close to our in-laws. We had to make new acquaintances and friends, which thank you very much, that some of you we know for at least 35 years. And for the kids, the assimilation was a little difficult, but the little ones got through very quickly. Dad didn't have any problem. Dad didn't have any problem. The girls were a little, but we're all surviving and we're good. I had to commute to Boston because there was no work for me in this little island. So that was something that I had to take. But we had the Cape Cod Synagogue. That's our life is, and since then, since at that time, 1990, 19. Martha is over here, and we know her room, wherever she is. I worked from 1990 to 2008 at Putnam Investments in Boston. I was very lucky. I came here on Christmas of '89. Everything was closed. Somehow I got an interview, job interview with Putnam on the first week of January, and I was accepted. So that was a big thing, because when you're here with 4 kids, no house, no money, it's not easy. But we survived. Putnam was growing at that time, and it grew. And at its best, Putnam was managing $600 billion of investment. So it was a good business. They didn't have new technologies, so I fitted in, introduced them to some new stuff that we were doing in Israel, and at the end, I was responsible for IT architectures and new technologies. And retired as a managing director in 2008 because it was enough for me to commute. Really that. So that's that. Finally, in 2010, I became a US citizen. I never wanted to become a citizen. I said that I'm Israeli, I don't want to do it. That was not my choice. But, you know, there was nothing that was stopping me. So some of my kids came and joined me. Yeah. Okay, this is a little curiosity. As you notice that I talked about Spain and Spanish culture and how proud I am that I'm a Sephardic Jew. And there are Sephardic Jews and there are Sephardic Jews. There's Sephardi Tahor, meaning that pure Sephardi. You become that the word, the Sephardim that are from Spain, from the Inquisition, you know, the pures, not the ones that came from North Africa or from the Middle East and all that stuff. So I was proud and I was gloating about that to everybody about that. Then one day my son Ben, this one, said, let's take a DNA testing and see what we have. So 23andMe, I don't know if you know them, but they do DNA testing. And we did the DNA testing. And if you notice over here, I'm 30% Ashkenazi Jew. That was my end. That, you know, I didn't know what to do. I was really upset. My purity was blemished. I'm not this. But I still think I'm Israeli. This is, we don't trust in it. Okay, after I retired, I had a lot of time on my hand. I didn't know what to do. And I like to help people, and I like to help them with education or other stuff, whatever I can. So I went to Peru 3 years for a couple of months a year, and was there with school in Cusco. Is Cusco, famous Cusco with the famous flag. If you notice, that's Cusco's flag. This is not a social identification. That's Cusco's flag. I was surprised. They let me know. I did that for 2 years. Then I taught ESL, thanks to Sue at 4Cs for 4 years. I did 5 years of technology help in the Central Library. I had a lot of people that came and tried to just spend some time. You know, some people come there and not search for help. That's what I was trying to do. Anyway, and now lately I'm doing the Yarmouth Food Pantry. I'm there 2 days a week. I'm involved with Freemasonry, with big brothers and sisters. I had that little kid. He's probably now big, not big brother, but big. The Rotary and Cape Cod Literacy Council. Went through all this, yes, and there are some challenge and lessons that I learned in this road that I'm taking, and I'm sure that anybody that moved, even if it is locally or big moves like me that went through different countries, has to go or did go through these challenges, and it's not easy. It's a challenge of cultural adjustment. A Turkish Jew living in a Christian US is not the same, whatever you do. That's why, if you remember whatever I said at the first slide, that most of my time in life was spent on adapting or learning and changing. And sometimes it's difficult. The language barrier, where you see it. Maybe you understand me, maybe you don't sometimes, but that's how it is. I mean, I can't do better. The social integrations. You build new friendships. And you have to avoid isolation. You can't live by yourself anyplace. You have to get new people, new friends. Employment. You have to find a job to eat. There's the immigration issues, visas, and all that stuff. There's financial adjustment. You have to understand the banking, what is a credit card, what is credit card score, all these things that may not have someplace else. The healthcare system in Israel, I didn't have to pay anything for anything. And here we go over here, then that's different, right, Gary? Family dynamics, then it's, the children, how do they adjust? Do they adjust? What can we do to make them better? The religious identity over here, we didn't have any problem. We found Cape Cod Synagogue, we were fine. But for anybody else, there is this. Even if you're an atheist, there's a problem. And then climate. I never saw the snow before. I never know what's cold. Now I have to wear sweaters and coats and all that stuff. Anyway, so these are the challenges that I went through, and I'm sure that everybody will get. Next slide. But I don't think I will move again. How was my English? How was my English? I don't know. Yeah, good. See? Thanks to Robert College. Any questions?
Were your parents alive when you moved to the US? Your parents, were they
Yeah.
alive?
My mother, yes. My father, no.
Your father had
My
died?
father, they moved to Israel
Okay.
after we left Israel.
They moved
No,
to Israel.
actually, we were in Israel. They moved to, in Turkey, they were by themselves, and they said, what are we doing here? Our kids
Right.
are in Israel, so we should go to Israel. So my parents moved to Israel, and 2 years after that, my father passed away. My mother stayed in Israel. We got her a place, and she lived till the age of 96.
But how was she about, I mean, I bet she wasn't too thrilled when you were leaving to move to the US.
No, but
She
it's
accepted it.
either Mother or Martha, you know. I don't know what to do. What would you have done?
Did your mother learn Hebrew? Did your mother learn Hebrew?
My mother learned it, yes, but she lived in Bat Yam, which is a city where there's a lot of Judeo-Spaniards. That's people from Greece or Turkey that spoke Ladino.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that she would go to buy food, and the merchant speaks Ladino. Yeah.
How did you end up in Cape Cod versus Boston, in the Boston area, if you were
Right.
working there?
Very good. We had to come over. When we came over here, one of the things was that we had to be close to family. And my in-laws, the professor from Springfield, moved to the Cape.
Okay.
So when we came, that's where we came. And they said, Rafi, you go find a job wherever it is. We're here, right? You can go to Boston. You can. Well, so what's it? 2 hours a day, one way. Yes.
So, Rafi, I have a question.
Sure.
Do you regret any part of your life that you could have done differently?
Very good question. I don't know, because sometimes my decisions were not made by myself. I was in a situation, I had to pick up the best way to go. Like coming to Israel. If I had stayed, and this is, I'm not saying, if I had stayed in Turkey and said that, you know what, forget Israel. Israel is good, I can go visit Israel. Then I would have find a rich Jewish girl, because that's how it is over there. You pay dowry. The father of the girl has to pay the gentleman that she's marrying a dowry. A dowry sometimes is partner in his business or buy them a house. So that could have been. Or I would have said that, you know what, because at that time, I'm sorry to say, in America you can't say it, I was a Marxist, you know, equality, what is this? You know, America, I'll never come to America. America was not something for me to decide, to come over here. You know, I was I'd say Marxist, but you know, I was a socialist. And that's why Israel fitted me, because that was the way that Israel was founded. So I don't know. And apparently I'm not that, you know, strong enough to make my own decisions and do whatever I want.
How old are you now?
77.
And how do you see the rest of your life?
I'm not moving. I'm not moving again. I'm not moving again. I was planning on going to South America, but I'm not going.
So your aunt emigrated to Israel in '45. That's before the war. The war in Israel. Where did they live at that point, and how did things go for them during the War of Independence?
When they went there, they lived on tents.
Wow.
There was no Israel in 1945. Before
Palestine,
48, it was awful, you know. And people that were emigrating with no money, there was nothing to do. But they couldn't stay in Turkey. It was worse. At least I said we will be in Israel. And she was not the only aunt. I had 3 aunts that went. Actually 4 aunts, where one came back. With the whole family, she came back, and she had 5 kids.
And that family is still in Israel.
Yeah, they're doing well now. And their kids are doing well. And every time we go visit them. Yeah. My brother is still in Israel, retired. He also used to work for Israel Aircraft. And he retired. He has 2 kids. Doing a good job. They're going to Japan next month.
Wow. So, after having lived in both the more of a national health care versus what we have,
Yeah.
what do you think is better?
Well, with the national health care, you would go see anybody anytime you want to. But mostly people go to private doctors, even though that that's it, to get a second opinion and pay money. So at the end, I think that the system is not working 100%. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. And you go to the doctor and they say that, I'll see you another 2 months. Then you say that I want to see you privately. So come tomorrow.
So the wealthy can.
It's always like that. Too bad, but that's
Money
always
always
like that. The
talks,
wealthy are right, always. Which I hate it, but that's what it is.
On the other hand, if you needed surgery in Israel as opposed to here, that would happen much more rapidly.
Yes, but if you said a specific surgeon to do it, then, it's always, everybody wants
You get what
something
you get.
different.
If it's national, you get what you get.
Okay? Yes?
But it's a good baseline for people who can't.
No, Rita, you're not gonna, it's fun to me.
So, it's,
Thank you very much.
Sorry, I have to give you so much information that you probably don't need.
Just before you leave, I have one little anecdote. He speaks several languages well. But getting into our older years, we're both having these brief moments where we can't find the word. So he helps me out, and he'll get to that spot, and I try and help him, and I say, okay, give it to me in French. And he's like, okay, let's try Hebrew. We go through all the languages to find the word for him. So, but we manage. Well, thank you all for coming. Question, yes.
What languages do you speak?
I speak French from school, English, Hebrew, and just a teeny bit of Spanish. And the problem with my in-laws was we did not have a common language, except their French. A lot of the Jews spoke French in Turkey. Oh, and by the way, I wanted to mention, his parents, when they were out on the street, they would never speak Ladino because of the Turks surrounding them.
Yes.
They all switched to Turkish. It just shows you what the environment was like at that time. Even today. So I would speak in my high school French, and they would try to figure out how to speak their French, and we got along. We did. So, thank you all so much for coming. Thank you for bringing your goodies.
Thank you for that.
Thank you to my son Dad, the cutest little boy in the picture. If you brought something, please take it home. I have foil and saran wrap. You can wrap it up, because otherwise we just have to throw it out. That's a shame. Okay? Or I could take it to shelter. If you'd rather leave it, I'll stop at the shelter afterwards. Thank you all for coming.